This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1760, Comic Talk.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From capes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons, on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Eberly.
Comic Geek Speak.
Yes.
Woo! Hi-oh.
Hi.
I miss these men.
Good to hear everybody again.
Hell yeah. Brothers, how we all doing?
Okay.
Shane is snoring into the
Dozing,
mic.
dozing away.
Doing well.
Reminded me of Pops from the late seasons of the Muppet Show over there. Eh? Who are you?
What? What do you want? Get off my lawn.
Shane, hopefully our discussion can rejuvenate you a little bit.
Yes, may it do so for all of us, Chris.
I think a few good
Indeed.
nights sleep would do that too.
I was looking forward to this because I've been doing a lot of reading in the past couple weeks. I have tons of stuff to discuss.
Well,
So-
good.
And the
I've
computer
got
music
I've got
agrees.
more media stuff than comics, but I did do a little bit of reading a little bit before the show, so I can discuss on that a little bit too.
Thanks, Cutie Pie.
Yeah, I was way too busy watching TV things to read much in the last couple weeks. I polished off. I was after Crisis. I was way behind on every single DC episode on TV. I caught up on all them. I caught up on Harley Quinn, and
Yep.
I caught up on Star Trek Discovery season 2, the whole thing in a week, and the first 2 episodes of Picard.
Oh,
And I
Oh
Kinda
yeah.
selfishly did that
man.
all in a
I
week.
can't wait to talk about that. I broke down. I got CBS All Access. I'll be canceling it as soon as Picard is over.
So
But
did I.
Well, I mean, you might want to stick around for Star Trek Discovery, to be honest, especially
starts
with
in April.
with the way season 2 ended.
Yeah.
I know
was
because I trust your judgment. I know it's excellent, but I
flabbergasted.
don't have the time.
That's fair.
Plus, my streaming platform totals now are getting higher than my old cable bills, so you got to kind
Uh-huh.
of defeats the purpose.
I know. I'm in the share and share alike model. That is like I get one, my friend gets one, and then we sort of just like mix and match them between the two.
Yeah.
You see, wouldn't Ian have been a great like Cold War espionage agent, like the way he can just circumvent regular channels? Like imagine like a listening post like beneath the Berlin Wall. Fantastic.
In Soviet Russia, stream what?
We have the streaming services.
All right, I want to shout out before we get started that there's a new Crisis tapes, and Murd, boy, is my commute fun. Granted, my commute isn't that long. I'm listening to it in parts, but
Well, it can last you
It
several
is-
days' worth of your commute then.
exactly, it is tremendous, my friend.
Thank you very much, Chris. Peter and I are just happy to be done with that particular issue of Crisis.
How many hours total was it, Murd? 12?
Roughly, yeah. Just give or take 30 minutes or so. But yeah, it's we kind of vanished into the microverse there with how detail oriented we became.
So out of 20 some episodes, 15 of them were all issue 5.
I'm loving the deep dive, Murd. It's fantastic.
I'm reminded of back in the day, bringing up our fellow podcasters, when Sean Whalen and Jim Seguin of the Raging Bullets podcast would
yes.
put out episode 12, part Q.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, as a segue, let's talk about Crisis then, right? We all because I did finally watch it, so I'm caught up on that.
Yep.
So-
I am all caught up as well, and also all caught up on Supergirl, and I watched the first episode of Legends. Haven't watched the. Oh no, actually no. I think there only was one.
There was
so far.
only one. Yeah.
Yep. And it all ended in a pretty package. I feel like it ended a lot smoother than I thought it was going to.
Well, and
Well, go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
It not only ended smoother, but it did do mostly what I wanted it to do, which was spoilers for anyone who didn't.
No, it's important to state.
Watch
yes.
it. It brought them all together on one Earth, which is what I wanted to happen for the TV shows. I'm a little disappointed the way they showed the Titans, Doom Patrol, Green Lantern, and the others on their separate Earth.
Yeah.
I would be okay with the Green Lanterns on one Earth because of the HBO thing, but I really thought the Titans and Doom Patrol should be on another Earth together, not split apart. Because to me, that tells me, one, they won't cross over, and two, Cyborg's not going to go over to the Titans right now.
So wait a minute. So I'm a little perplexed. So because when they showed like the Doom Patrol like cavorting in front of wherever and all that, they're still on a different Earth?
Yep. Which they weren't before. They were on the same Earth, as far as I could tell, as the Titans were, both from the DC app.
But I thought they got rid of the multiverse.
Well, they did, but just like the
They
New
did,
52,
but oh yeah, that's right. By the way, they didn't.
right.
Because they just kind of threw in there the last-minute, offhanded, left-field revelation that, oh, by the way, there is still a multiverse.
Yeah, it's just not a multiverse where the CW characters are all
Yeah,
separate.
it's just that somehow, for some reason, only the Earths on which a CW DC-derived series, an Arrowverse TV series takes place, got merged together into the
One
poorly
Earth.
named Earth Prime.
Yeah. But then also the Stargirl is on a separate Earth too.
Yes, that's a new Earth 2, the
Right.
number 2. Not the same one from which Harry Wells and his daughter Jessie Quick
Right.
came, as seen on in prior seasons of The Flash. This is a different Earth 2, and it just felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
That really struck a large sour note with me.
Well, what I felt like they were doing, and while I do agree to a certain extent with you, Murd, is that they essentially combined in some ways Crisis on Infinite Earths with 52.
Yeah.
Where, like it sort of reset the multiverse rather than, remove it. And it does make sense for all of CW shows to be on the same Earth.
It
and,
does.
With all these other properties and what have you, it's a little bit more difficult to have them all be coexisting on the same world. So that sort of felt like they were, doing a little bit more of their like merging of storylines and like giving us our cake and eating it too in that aspect.
And keeping, I'm okay with keeping in some ways keeping the DC app shows separate, but they're not even together separate. They're just separate individually. Yeah. Because in the first season of Titans, I mean, for anyone who didn't watch it, I'm going to spoil that. They do go to the Doom Patrol. They do find Beast Boy. They do bring him over to the Titans. So they started out on the same Earth, but now they literally are mentioned two different Earths.
Was it the same version of the Doom Patrol, though?
Yeah. From the TV show to TV show.
Played by the same actors and everything.
Then
But
that's
now
max of a mistake. That's max of a mistake to me. That they
Could very well
literally
be.
were not talking to each other.
Right.
And made them two different Earths,
When they
thinking that they were separate.
Yeah. Stargirl and the characters that are going to be on that are on a separate Earth, which I'm sort of okay with as long as I think they should cross over with the Earth Prime universe, because even though that's a DC original, what is it, the next day or the next week it'll show up on CW anyway.
Right.
Yeah. What did we think of how they? So these latter two episodes, how do people think that they went? I really enjoyed them. I mean,
enjoyed them.
I was a little cold on it from the beginning, but I enjoyed the crossover more and more as it progressed. And by the end, I really had a big grin on my face. I mean, I kind of felt like because I haven't watched any of these shows in quite a long time, I almost felt like they were doing a reset in a way for the viewers as well. And now I could kind of jump in and start to watch these shows if I can, make the time for them. But I just thought the last two episodes were delightful. I really enjoyed them.
I think they were delightful, as you say, and I had a lot of fun and I smiled a lot. But I also think they were rushed. I think I could have used another episode or two of this to flush things out a little bit rather than rush in the last episode to get done.
Yeah. And they could have thrown us a bone and given us a little more exposition about what the heck has happened, why everybody from the Arrowverse is now on one Earth with a merged and collated history, and what changes have occurred, and why these Earths and the Earths only have been merged together as seen in the original Crisis Maxi series, but there's still a whole multiverse of possibility out there. They could have spoken to that in the script, but at the same time, I realize that they've got the whole second halves of all the current seasons of all the current Arrowverse series to explore this further. I mean, the Legends could probably do something with that. I'm pretty sure the Flash is going to address it in some depth. But on the other hand, you can't necessarily count on talking about lack of communication amongst writing staffs. Oftentimes within a single writer's room, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So,
oh, sure. Yeah. And Supergirl has already started to address some of the ramifications of the whole crisis, as their very first episode back involved a whole bunch of different Brainiac 5s that had made it through a wormhole before the Earths, were dissipated. And they're all on Earth Prime, and they're trying to figure out, why, who's killing off different iterations of Brainiac 5 that made it through. And it's a really good episode, and there's definitely some other things with Supergirl that are touching on the Earths too.
As is Batwoman too.
Okay, I haven't gotten the Batwoman yet, so I'll get to that when the time comes. But it's good to know that they're at least touching on that a little bit themselves as well.
A question I have, because again, I'm jumping into these, not having watched anything in a long time. First of all, I love John Cryer's Lex Luthor.
I do too.
Oh, he's great.
He's like, scene stealing, pure total evil Lex Luthor. So are they focusing on him now as like the first citizen of Earth in Supergirl, or is he appearing in all the shows?
So far, it's just Supergirl, but we haven't gone through all the other shows. Arrow had a couple episodes, but that was more to show off what's coming with Green Arrow and the Canaries. Is that what it's being called? The new spinoff?
Yeah.
And to wrap up his life, which I'm kind of lukewarm about that episode, that very last episode. There's a lot of good in it, but there's some things I really didn't like about it.
Well, as someone who hadn't watched Arrow in about 2 seasons, I was kind of okay with it, especially with all the stuff with him as the Spectre, because it kind of reminded me a bit of Hal's death in the comics when he became the Spectre, and how he helped bring Ollie back. That was one of the things that Kevin Smith brought in with his run of Green Arrow. Yeah. That is in some ways what Ollie pulled off here by changing things in this merged Earth to essentially bring back some of his loved ones. I did like that concept a lot, and frankly, they pulled it off well enough. There weren't really too many loose ends in that concept.
No, there weren't any loose ends. The part that I didn't like was I liked everything they did with his passing and everybody that they got to come back on to be there. I didn't like that Ollie himself didn't have a moment with his whole team. I even thought, even if it was a flashback to just a few moments during the crisis where he talked to just his team in some way. And I would have felt a little bit better. Not that it was bad. It wasn't bad at all. That's just something I personally wanted to see.
That's fair.
Kind of like David Tennant walking around, dropping in on all of his companions. That's kind of what I wanted. Something similar to that. And that's just what I didn't get. And it's okay, because I do like how everything else ended in that episode. I just wanted that one little nudge, that little piece.
Oh God, I so wish Pants was here right now to talk about recent Doctor Who, but we'll have to save that for another.
Yeah, I'm completely behind on that, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and I stumbled on it on the TV for a minute.
Yeah, I'm behind on it myself as well, but I know what happened and saw a couple of clips here and there. So yeah. But,
now is Arrow done?
Arrow is done.
Arrow's done. Done. Yep. They haven't even officially confirmed that the spin-off Arrow and the Canaries is going to happen. However, it was a very strong backdoor pilot.
Yeah.
And I'm very much hoping they go that route. It almost felt like in a way, it's going to be CW's Batman Beyond.
Yeah, yeah, in some ways, I can see that.
Yeah, which I'm really looking forward to, just because it's based in the future and it can go ahead and do its own thing while the rest of the shows are happening. And Superman's coming soon.
Yeah,
Superman and Lois has been confirmed to be coming to the CW. So yeah, there's some great potential in the CW universe. It's just how they're going to deal with the future of the multiverse and whether or not they're ever even going to know that there is a multiverse out there again is an important question to bring up in the future of the shows.
I think it'll be a while until they do that, just to keep it all separate in that way.
Yeah,
maybe not. Yeah. I think if anybody's, the Flash will probably be the first show to step back into that pool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I really thought that there was a chance that Supergirl would have died during the crisis, just as she did in the original story, and her show would have ended, and Lois and Superman would have started a couple weeks later. Like I like something that we just didn't know was happening would have been a total surprise. She'd have died. Lois and Superman's show would have just come right on to take its place, and boom, there you go. And all the talk of it coming and being approved, that would have been a red herring, because they would have already progressed beyond that. But that's not how it happened. That's just
Shane. When you give these alternate theories, I'm always like, you should be in the writers' room, man. You always come up with great concepts for these television shows.
I'll be entirely honest with you. I thought that this was going to end with Brandon Routh back as Superman on the CW.
Well, I thought that too.
I so favor him over the guy they had playing Superman.
I like him just well and good. Tyler Hoechlin. He's not as tall as some other Supermen, and probably not as muscular, but I do like his acting.
Yeah, I like his acting.
So he's got that going for it.
I don't know, when I saw Brendan Routh, when they had him recreate the Reeve smile when he's flying.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I was like, man, like this guy, he's so good as Superman.
See, now that's where I want like a CW telemovie special with him doing something Supermanish at some point.
Okay, once again, Shane, you should be in charge here. What did we think of? First of all, the Marv Wolfman cameo, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
I did like that.
Outstanding.
That was wonderful. And what do we think about the Flash from the movies appearing?
Oh, that was awesome.
Yes.
Whether you like it,
so proud of them for keeping their wraps.
Yep.
Because literally every other appearance we knew about beforehand. If you read the news wires, that's the one they kept under wraps, and my jaw dropped. Like I stayed up at 2 a.m. waiting to watch that finale because it didn't go streaming until that point on the East Coast. And then it was available on the CW app, and I immediately went and watched it. And I rewound that like 3 times to watch it. It just completely floored me. I was not expecting that at all.
It's nice to know that there's still surprises are still possible in the internet age.
Yep.
Oh my god!
And that's I guess what I liked about it. Not only because it was the movie verse coming into, which is what I was hoping for in some small way at all, but that they kept it secret the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I like the Justice League movie too. I enjoy watching it. I like the extended for whatever DVD version I have. I enjoy watching it every now and then. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but I like it. So yeah, I was thrilled when he showed up.
Well, as long as you're not one of those people who's literally picketing release the Snyder Cut at every single comic convention.
If they'd ever release it, I'd watch it at some point. But I'm not like I need to have it.
Are there actually people doing that?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I guess I'm getting old now because my reaction is like, really? Okay.
Yeah. I wish I had
what I
time.
enjoyed about that was like Shane. I there's a lot of things I enjoyed in the Justice League film, and I really appreciated how the actors portrayed most of the characters. And I think it's just a shame that seems to have petered out. So I was thrilled to see him back as the Flash, even just in that cameo appearance.
And I like how they gave the TV Barry Allen Flash telling him, well, I'm the Flash, and then Ezra Miller's Flash going, oh, the Flash. Like now he's gotten the name for himself, which he didn't have, because nowhere in the movies did they ever say, oh, that's the Flash. It's just always that guy who can go fast, or that guy has speed powers. So he never called himself the Flash. It's just this guy who can run fast.
Interesting observation, Shane. I've only seen the Justice League movie once, but I certainly didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, but it's neat.
They did also confirm yet again that the Flash movie is on.
Oh, good.
Really? Okay.
It's now been pushed back to 2022. But it has a release date scheduled for July 1st, 2022, and that's probably half the reason why they put Ezra Miller in this thing, is to remind you that he hasn't gone anywhere and that it still exists. The director is going to be Andy Muschietti, as of this point, who directed the 2017 It and It Chapter 2. That pretty much mostly has done horror movies, but he is announced to be doing The Flash as well. So a little bit of a horror bent, perhaps, on this version of The Flash. Who knows?
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I'm still rooting for DC to churn out, more movies that are going to be satisfying. So, wonderful. I look forward to seeing it.
Reviews are very, very positive so far. As we record this, we're about 6 days away from the release of Birds of Prey, and initial buzz is very positive.
Really? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm hoping that this is gonna wipe the taste of Suicide Squad out of my mouth, and that this will be the Harley Quinn movie that I want to see, but also Birds of Prey, because I feel like they're still just using the term Birds of Prey so that they can have female characters in it, and it's not necessarily going to be a Birds of Prey movie. But if it's good, then that's all that matters to me.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll check it out.
I'm a little disappointed that it's turned into such a Harley Quinn film.
Yeah,
but I really like Ewan McGregor. So I want to go see it, if for no other reason. And there's other reasons I want to see it. I want to see Ewan McGregor.
And he's playing Black Mask.
He's playing Black Mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm
and
very
Rosie
excited for
Perez
that.
as Renee Montoya.
Yeah.
Perfect casting.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Should work.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
When is I'm sorry, Ian, go ahead, please.
No, please go right ahead.
My question was the Robert Pattinson Batman film, which I believe is called The Batman, right?
Yes.
When is that coming out?
Let me check that right now.
Because that's been filmed, hasn't it?
It's filming.
Yeah.
It's filming. Okay.
I didn't think that would
That's
be until
scheduled
2022.
to be released in 2021.
Ah, wow.
Okay. Now, is that going to dovetail with the other DC films, or is that its own separate world, or we just don't know yet?
They haven't said yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's going to be standing on its own, just because it's a different, person behind the cowl and a different director. So I feel like DC's more going in that direction. But who the hell knows? But I mean, the cast on this thing is ridiculous at this point. In the same movie, Jeffrey Wright, Peter Sarsgaard, John Turturro, Paul Dano, Andy Serkis, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, and Robert Pattinson.
Wow.
Like you're doubling down on this one, man. It's something special. And the fact that Jeffrey Wright is playing James Gordon says to me that this is another universe, because we already have an established James Gordon in the other DC. So
yeah.
Well, Jeffrey Wright's a superb actor, and I think he's a good choice to play Gordon. So
definitely.
All right, exciting.
Yep. Now, did you guys see the Super Bowl ad for
I did.
Disney Plus?
Oh,
did. Oh
those
my God.
Vision clips. Oh my! I was jumping. And my wife was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "It's Vision,"
Uh-huh.
and it's the Tom K Vision. Come on.
Yep. I was floored.
Oh my God! And the image they showed of a comic book perfect costume for Scarlet Witch.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, that had me floored.
Yeah. Now, do we have release dates on those?
Scarlet Witch and the Falcon and Winter Soldier series are both coming out this year.
Terrific.
The Falcon and Winter Soldier, I believe, is mid-year, and Scarlet Witch is in the fall, and then Loki is, I believe, early next year, February or March, if I remember correctly. And they just announced that Owen Wilson is going to be in the Loki show. They haven't said as who, but he's been cast to be in that in one way or another.
Well, the fact that they've got back all the same actors who all really captured those characters, I thought, superbly.
Yep.
I'm really excited for this. By the way, our old friend Dan from Pittsburgh, Danny boy, if you're listening, he sent me a couple of very interesting texts. One is that they canceled the Howard the Duck show, right?
Yes, they did.
God.
Yeah, they canceled both Howard the Duck and the Lost in pre-production, Dazzler, and Wildcat series. So that both of those were supposed to lead into what was it? The Offenders, a big crossover animated series. And right now, it looks like the only one that's going forward is MODOK.
Well, I'm happy to see MODOK in any form, but I was hoping they would do like a real Steve Gerber-esque Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
I was disappointing. But the other thing Dan sent me, and gentlemen, I'm going to start to get a little verbally orgasmic here, so forgive me. All right. So I'm switching back to well, it's not really DC, but one of my favorite actors working in films today, Oscar Isaac, is attached to star and produce in Brian K. Vaughan's Ex Machina.
Yes.
And that is, first of all, one of the greatest comic book series of the previous decade. Number one, I cannot think of a better actor to bring that character to the screen. I am beyond excited for this concept. Like, if there, oh man, yes! Oh.
To finish out the amusement of this, Chris, they have to call the movie The Great Machine because he's already been in Ex Machina.
That's right, the science fiction film. Yeah, that's right. Dan mentioned that in the text. But have you guys all read that series?
No,
I have.
First two trades.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's one of Vaughn's greatest works, and that's saying something. And it is tailor made to be brought to another media, and especially with this actor involved. I'm again just deeply excited for it.
Yeah, no,
So-
I'm looking forward to it. I'm wondering whether this is going to be a series of movies or if they're going to try to do the whole thing in one shot.
I hope they don't do the latter, Ian, because I don't think that would do it justice.
I agree with you, but it's one of those series that again has one of the most striking images in it that anyone. I mean, it's almost like the central plot of the entire book, so it's not even really that much of a spoiler to say. But I'll say spoilers just in case. The fact that the way that the Great Machine becomes the mayor in the first place is that he saves one of the towers during 9/11.
Yes.
And that image of one tower standing, like as a New Yorker, was, that was powerful, especially coming from the amazing artists like Tony Harris.
Tony Harris. It's a finite series. It's done. So you can go and read the whole thing.
Yep.
But the way Vaughn mixes, without spoiling anything, superheroics with the sordid realities of trying to be a politician and govern a city, it's a masterwork. And I'm so thrilled they're going to take a stab at this with such a superb actor in the lead. Because forget Poe Dameron. Go see Oscar Isaac in movies like Inside Llewyn Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Go see his HBO series Show Me a Hero, where he plays a mayor. He is a tremendous actor.
Oh yeah.
So this is any release date on that? Because I can't wait to see it.
Nah, I mean,
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But just, ladies and gentlemen, just go read the trades.
Yep.
And then you'll be primed for that movie.
There's deluxe trades for that as well, where you can
Yes, there are.
like
Yep.
24 in one shot. So it's a good way to do it.
Yep.
Murd, not to put you on the spot, but did we get any mailbag in the studio?
We've got kind of a heap of things sitting here. Many of them just the usual complimentary advanced reader copies from the different publishers. But we do have some presents. I did want to go give props to Big John Morrissey from down south, who is always very generous to us at Christmas time.
very, very.
Yep. And so there's a bunch of neatly wrapped gifts here in the studio. I don't know if we want to crack into them when not everyone is present to open their own presents. But Shane, you want to tell the folks what yours were? You were the big winner this year.
Because my box was huge. I couldn't
It's the
believe
size
it.
of a small refrigerator.
And inside was the Diamond Select Batman 1966 Shakespeare bust.
Oh wow!
So it's a
Oh my
vinyl
God.
bank. His head pivots up. He's got a button inside. I mean, it's not electronic or anything like that, but it was really awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's cool.
God, Big John has got the ticket to your heart, Shane.
Oh my
Holy
God! I must
mackerel!
have played with that thing for a half hour, flipping the head up, flipping a switch, looking around for the bookcase. It was cool.
Outstanding.
I walked
That's
in.
so
I walked
cool.
into the house with the box backwards, and Crane said, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's a present." And then I opened it up.
This didn't cost me money, I swear. The budget is intact, Carlene.
But yeah, that was really awesome. So thank you.
Now all you need is a pole to go down, and then your bat cave is complete.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know, funny story about a bat pole like that. When I was a kid living at my parents' house, I lived in the upstairs bedroom that really was supposed to be the attic of a Cape Cod. No heat vent, no air vent or anything, just a window and a room. And below us was a room that wasn't used and only had one window and a doorway. And I can't tell you how many times I begged my dad to let me cut a hole in the floor, put a pole so I could have a 2-floor bedroom where the downstairs was like the rec room area and the upstairs was the sleeping area. So I could go from the bed, slide down the pole to get to whatever downstairs. And that was always kiboshed.
And
But
how are you planning to get back up?
the staircase that went upstairs anyway. So I'd just go right back out of the room and walk up the stairs.
And your dad indulged you in a lot, but I guess you
Yeah.
had to draw a line someplace.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't when I was like 5. This is like when I was like 14.
That's what I was picturing, actually.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, is it feasible to construct a pole in your current upstairs cave?
Not easily, and that would be kiboshed right away. I
Understood.
know that.
Mert, I give you permission to open if there's anything there for me for the sake of listener enjoyment.
Okay.
Me as well, sir. Me as well.
Shane, could you hand me the card, Shane?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. John sent along a lovely Marvel themed greeting card. You'd appreciate it, Chris. It's some classic Marvel artwork. There's a Kirby Captain America in the middle of it. Dear CGS crew, writes John, this custom-designed card, custom-designed, mind you, precedes 3 packages that are headed your way. Yes, I missed Christmas and Hanukkah and Merd's birthday and New Year's Day, so please consider these presents to be early Valentine's gifts because I love you all and I love your show. With infinite appreciation for all that you do throughout the year, I hope you all had a Marvel-us holiday. Signed, Big John. P.S. As always, feel free to swap or regift these items if you'd like. Nobody's getting regifted Shane's Shakespeare bust, though.
That's true.
Yeah, Shane's not going anybody near that.
That's right up there with the Bat Bank phone I got as well earlier, previous year.
Outstanding.
Yeah, Shane is working at breaking into your box, Chris, which is the
You also have a separate box.
is the second largest.
Oh.
And I'm going to open yours, Ian, which is actually wrapped in Hanukkah paper.
Shalom.
Yep, there's pictures of dreidels and menorahs and Hanukkah gelt and Magens David and all that stuff.
He knows the way to my heart.
Yeah, and it definitely it feels book shaped. I'm pretty sure that it's got a cover and pages.
I like books.
Okay. All right, Ian. Well, it's a hardcover edition of The Complete Mouse by Art Spiegelman.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yep, winner of the Pulitzer
That's
Prize.
awesome.
It's one of the most esteemed works of graphic fiction. And, yeah, it's all yours.
That is so cool. I have a very beat up used copy that I got of the paperback for my for college actually because it was assigned to me for one of my classes, and I'll happily and very gladly replace that with an amazing hardcover. Thank you so much, Sean.
Yep. This is one that you can keep, as we say in Pennsylvania Dutch country, for nice. It's hardcover with dust jacket yet.
Nice. So happy about that. Thank you, man. That's
Chris,
great.
In yours, you have 4 separate presents.
Ooh.
Are they individually labeled, or are they all for Chris, or some of them for...
All for Chris.
Oh, my God.
There's 4 of them.
They are in Spidey wrap.
Definitely feel like a book.
Ah.
Now, there is one in here for pants as well, and that is wrapped in lovely Justice League paper. I think we're going to let that one remain inviolate until we can hand it to him at the annual CGS Wild Pig Summit at your house, Chris.
Indeed.
But of course.
Merd, what did you get?
Well, I'm kind of dandling it on my knee here as we speak. It's wrapped in Avengers paper, and I'm waiting my turn here, though. I'm gonna
Fair enough.
let Shane let you know what you've received. Oh, I think he wants to make sure that the 4 gifts are related.
Which
Yeah.
I'm sure they are. It seems like they are. So this is
Wait.
Showa: A History of Japan.
Oh, ho, ho.
And there are, let's see, I've opened up 1944 to 53, 53 to
Oh,
89.
John, magnificent. I've often skimmed those, but I've never purchased them, but they look wonderful. What a gift.
And they are all left-oriented, as good authentic manga should be.
Let's see, 1926 to 1939.
Wow. John, I thank you so much. That's a wonderful gift.
1939.
Right in my
44.
wheelhouse.
So yeah, 4 volumes, 1926 through 1989.
Well, because Showa refers to the reign of the Emperor Hirohito, who no doubt many listeners know was Japan's emperor during the World War II era. And he was in office until his death, again, as Shane noted, in 1989. So one of the most pivotal eras in Japan's long history, and also one of the most tragic in many ways for both Japan and all the countries around Japan, and the United States. So this is a series I've long glanced at and skimmed when I saw it in stores and libraries, and I'm just thrilled to be able to own it now. Thank you so much.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Pretty complete collection there too. Nice. Oh boy.
There we go.
All right, and I've torn
right.
open my own package here, and John has sent to me the DC Super Pets Character Encyclopedia, and this is based on the Art and Franco series of Super Pets. Well, Art anyway. I'm not sure they were all. I'm not sure Franco was involved in all of them, but the illustrations are all by Art Baltazar. And it's kind of a handbook drawing on all the large series of DC Super Pets young person's graphic novels put together by Art. And some of the characters in here are from the actual comic, the official canon DC comics. Some are from those aforementioned Super Pets all ages graphic novels. But all told, there are, as the cover tells us, more than 200 pets of DC superheroes and supervillains included in this guidebook. And it's got it's fully illustrated. It's handbook style. There's entries for all these different well-known animals. Like there's people from Commandy's Age of the Great Disaster, Prince Tufton and the tiger, and Commandy's ally, Dr. Canis. There's Crypto and Streaky and all the usual super pets. But there's also characters that were invented just for the purpose of these kids' graphic novels. It's pretty exhaustive, and it's got a foreword by Jeff Johns. And to go along with that, I've also got from Fantagraphics Books the first volume of The Complete Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. Yep, the Don Rosa Duck Comics.
Oh man.
Yep, I think Peter might be getting his hands on this. Going back deep into the primordial dark ages of early CGS history. Yeah. One of the first Stump the Rios, well, no, I don't know if it was one of the first necessarily, but an early Stump the Rios trivia segment involved somebody sending in 3 like Scrooge McDuck questions.
Yeah.
It was after that Peter had to establish his rules of 1 Marvel, 1 DC, 1 Independent.
Did somebody say trivia?
Maybe. Spoon-fed that segue to you, Ian.
Well, it's about that time once again for Muddle the Murd here on Comic Geek Speak. And Mr. Murd himself will explain the rules for said segment.
It would be a pleasure, Ian. So the Muddle the Murd trivia segment consists of myself, the Murd, attempting to answer 3 comic book trivia questions submitted by you, the listeners. Each Muddle the Murd trivia submission must consist of 3 questions following similar guidelines to the ones I just described that used to be for the earlier Stump the Rios trivia segment. There need to be 3 questions, 1 Marvel, 1 DC, and 1 Independent, but they also need to break down chronologically, 1 about comics prior to the year 1970, 1 about comics published between the years 1970 and 2000 inclusive, and 1 about comics from after the year 2000. So send, if you, the listener, email in to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com 3 such questions, along with their answers, of course. And then they are asked of me, and I fail to answer even one of them correctly. If you stump me on all 3 questions, you will have successfully muddled the merd, and you will be entitled to receive a prize.
Excellent. And what is that prize this time around?
Well, I finally got it sitting here next to me, Ian, after too long a time spent in the back seat of my car. The prize we're playing for is still an original art page by artist James Stocco from IDW's Godzilla The Half-Century War miniseries, issue 1, page 18. So it's... and Stocco does some pretty fantastic and grotesquely at times detailed line work. And this page 18 of issue 1 of Godzilla The Half-Century War is about the main character, who is a Japanese citizen who is kind of haunted by the repeat appearances of Godzilla over a course of decades. So it's kind of like a Godzilla through the decades thing. He is to Godzilla, this character, what Phil Sheldon was to the Marvel Universe in Busiek and Ross's Marvels. And so this original art page is him standing there nursing recent injuries suffered at the hands of Godzilla and reflecting on this nightmarish entity that has been unleashed on Godzilla, Japanese life in the post-war years. And then there is an image of Godzilla kind of bubbling up from the murky depths to terrorize Japanese ships. So if you're a Godzilla fan...
In tribute to that murder, I'm now going to shoot the tongue flame from my 1970s Godzilla toy here in my office. There we go.
Is that Gotti?
It's Gotti. Yep.
It's Gotti the Godzilla making his CGS debut.
I lost the projectile fist years ago, but he's still here.
And as long as there's no Godzuki.
And Godzuki.
And this page comes with a Cadence Comic Art Certificate of Authenticity, signed by our old acquaintance Paolo Belfiore himself.
Nice. Well, this attempt at muddling you is from a familiar name, Mr. Ryan Howard.
Yes. Not just familiar because he shares a name with the former Philadelphia Philly first baseman, but also because he has made multiple past attempts to muddle the merd. So it's always nice to see his name popping up in the CGS inbox. See if he's going to take another stab at it. So, Ryan, welcome back to the Inner Circle.
And he does indeed say, "Greetings, geeks. Having finally muddled Mr. Murdo after many misguided attempts just a few months ago, I've decided to see if I can get a second muddle on my record. If this is too soon after for another submission, which it is not.
Oh, no.
And I'll hold off. If not, then let the muddling commence." And here is question 1, DC pre-1970. In 1964, DC decided to kill off Alfred Pennyworth in Comics number 328 and replace him with the character of Aunt Harriet. Whose aunt is Harriet?
She's Dick Grayson's aunt.
Ding-a-ding-ding. You are.
Once upon a time, I think I was just going to say, I used to know her Aunt Harriet's last name. It just came to me. I think it's Cooper.
It is Cooper. Mrs. Cooper.
All right. Thank you for verifying that, Shane.
Yeah.
Well, we're hanging with Mrs. Cooper.
God. Bullseye, Ian. Bullseye.
Thank you much. All right. Question 2. Independent 1970 to 2000. In Frank Miller's Sin City story, The Yellow Bastard, who is the titular Yellow Bastard?
Oh.
I am positive I have never read this story. I have read very little Sin City. So I'm just going to say the name of the one Sin City character I can think of, which is Marv.
Incorrect. Chris, you got a guess?
I know the character, but I can't remember his name. I mean, he's the son of a, I think of a gangster. Creepily captured in the film too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't remember the name of the character though.
Nope.
All right. The answer is Rourke Jr.
Yes. Okay.
Senator Rourke.
Senator Rourke, right? Because the Rourkes were sort of at the center of corruption in Sin City. There was a corrupt religious figure and the politician and so forth. So,
all right. And question 3, Marvel 2000 to present. In Greg Rucka's Punisher series from 2011, which Marvel responsible for Frank Castle losing an eye?
Well, okay. So now I just have to select a Marvel villain. The Silver Samurai.
Any guesses from the audience?
I read that series was excellent, but I don't remember. It's probably not Jigsaw.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Shane?
I was going to be really stupid and say Wolverine.
Nope. And it's not Rhino either. The answer, Vulture.
Oh.
That is somewhat unexpected.
Good question. That's a good question.
But yeah, of all the guesses provided, there, Vulture is actually the Rhino was actually the closest.
Well, 2 out of 3. It still ain't good enough.
Thank
But it
you.
came
I thought you were
close.
going to go meatloaf on us there for a second, but
Yes, don't be sad, Ryan. Don't be sad. No, but thank you very much for playing our game with us again, Ryan. And you definitely were not too close on the heels of your last successful attempt. We saw to that because you actually sent that submission into us back in June of 2019.
Boy.
And you've been waiting something like 8 months for closure on that. But here we are. Your questions have been answered. It's just one of them was answered correctly. So, but thank you again for participating, and we hope to hear from you again in the future.
Here we are, face to face, a couple of silver spoons.
Murr, did you want to remind the listeners about the awards?
Oh, yes, Chris, I very much did. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, we're referring, of course, to the Comic Geek Speak Best of 2019 Awards, which will be coming your way fairly shortly. So we put out the annual open call for the submissions of ballots of nominees for the awards. You, the listeners, have the right to make your voice heard in those award proceedings by making nominees in as many of the 16 categories as possible. We prefer at least 8 to be that you nominate something in at least 8 of those 16 categories. And whichever person, thing, etc., in each of those categories gets the most listener nominations in that category will find its way onto the final ballot for the awards. However, it grieves me to say that so far we've only received a handful of ballots from those of you out there. So please... this is difficult to do without the participation of all of you out there in CGS land. So go to thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. Look up the 16 categories in which nominations are being sought, and email a ballot containing nominations in at least 8 of those to bestof@comicgeekspeak.com, preferably sometime within the next week. We may choose to extend the deadline a bit, depending on what kind of reaction we get to this. But keep the vote early and vote often, please.
Yep, and we'll be reminding you on the Facebook and the Facebook group, and hopefully Twitter as well of these proceedings. So go ahead and get your votes in there whenever you can.
And of course, down the road, we'll also give our own nominations.
Yep.
As well.
That's right. There will be one nominee from each geek and one from the listeners in each of the 16 categories. But that fourth nominee has to come from you guys. So let us know what you thought about the comics of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a lot of my not a lot of my selections, but some of my selections may very well come from a sale that Comixology was having to celebrate the New Year, which went a little bit further than the New Year, where they were having some of Image's best 2019 comics for 50% or more off, and bought at least 6 trades off of that sale recently. So that's ready and willing to be read on my account.
All right, speaking of Image, do you guys mind if we segue to some comic discussion of actual print comics?
That
right
sounds
ahead.
like a
Go
wonderful
ahead.
idea, Chris.
Ian, first of all, I'm actually getting on my knee now in supplication in my office towards you. Because, Ian, you have I'm actually on my knee here, it's pathetic, but you have so enhanced my reading life right now as a longtime lover of the comic medium, because I've read Monstrous, Ian.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. There are, some different comics I enjoy, but then there are comics that realize the full potential of the medium and transcend it.
Yep.
and they enter for lack of a better term, and not to sound like I'm pontificating, but a more literary realm that sort of crosses over into so many different genres. And the kind of books that can bring in people into the comic book medium that normally they wouldn't, delve into it. I've read the first 12 issues of this book. I'm going to get the library to get the trades 3 and 4 this week. It is one of the greatest series I've read in recent years. This is some of the most breathtaking art I have seen in a comic book in quite some time.
Oh yeah,
and I was floored reading this series. And it's you need those moments where, because we've all read thousands and thousands of comics, and there's always certain formats they tend to follow, and that can be always reassuring and fun, but sometimes it can get a little stale too. And then you come across something like this, and I don't want to spoil too much. Basically, it's a fantasy book, but it incorporates so many elements of just our sort of our own politics and our own history when it comes to matters of war and statecraft and different civilizations and whether or not they can coexist and the history between them and how myth and reality tend to intertwine, and how people view people on sort of the opposite side. And this is stunning, Ian. Like this series is still running, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And volume 4. I think it's still monthly at this point. But yeah, up to volume 4 has been collected in trade.
And I'll be getting 3 and 4 soon this week, as I said. But
yep.
To listeners, if you love Sandman, and Neil Gaiman gives a testimonial right in the front cover of volume 1 of the trade. If you love fables, if you loved books of magic, dreaming, what's the series that Peter Milligan did? I may be misremembering. It's kind of like Harry Potter. It was an excellent Vertigo series. I'm totally killing this.
Books of Magic.
Yeah. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
No, not Books of Magic. Oh God,
Unwritten.
Unwritten.
Oh, that right.
Unwritten.
Oh, wait a minute. That was Mike Carey, wasn't it?
Mike Carey. I'm sorry, not Peter Milligan. I apologize. And if you enjoyed any and all of those, don't think. Just go to your library, go online, go wherever. Get the first trade of this book.
Yep.
I think I don't want to spoil this. So I don't want to give away too much. But basically, the author Marjorie Liu, and then the artist Sana. She's Japanese. I think it's Takeda.
Takeda. Yeah.
Takeda, I think, might be our way of butchering the name, actually.
Got it.
I'm not sure about that. But they've built a world here that you've seen aspects of it in other fantasy stories. Like it's familiar, but at the same time, they've done something so breathtakingly new. And it's poignant. It's full of tremendous twists and turns. You don't know what's going to happen at all. The main character, the protagonist, is not necessarily who you think she is, and you're not really. You're trying to get a handle on where does she fall in all this story. Lou creates such a history for this world. I mean, and they periodically they take you through what's gone on and why these different sort of civilizations are at odds. And Ian, I got to tell you, I and the art, like I know who my penciler of the year is. I mean. I don't even think it's close. I mean, this has all the makings of because I'm sure there's an ending in mind because all the best series have an end. This has all the makings of a masterpiece, and I don't use that term loosely.
Well, this episode will be out in time for me to make the statement. That 50% off sale on Comixology for Image books is still going on until January 6th. February 6th. My mistake. February 6th. Right now, you can get all 4 volumes of Monstrous digitally for only $22.96.
I'll do it immediately.
Yeah. Volume 1, if you just want to get in on the ground floor with Volume 1, that's only $4. So yeah, go ahead and do that, and you'll be very, very happy in the end.
Yeah, Ian, I can't thank you enough. Your recommendations are always spot on. This is your best.
Yeah. You could actually thank my girlfriend for this one because she's the one who was reading it first, and then I went ahead and borrowed it from her, and it was well worth the effort. So yeah.
Well, if I'm ever lucky enough to meet her, I certainly will with profusely thank her, because these are the moments that really kind of they're a shot in the arm and remind you of why I love the medium so much.
Yeah.
And to see a creative team really just be able to fully tap into their imaginations here, and to so many of the great themes and when it comes to drama and it's all here, but it's so fresh and invigorating. I'm speaking purposely in generalities. I don't want to really spoil anything, but
it really is.
It's this good.
Where like it's so contingent on what you're reading that it's very hard to describe it. But it really just does take reading at least the first volume to understand exactly the depth of story going on and the mysteries surrounding the characters and the situations and the.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you, because you have to be patient. Yeah. When you're in this, and because it's fully absorbing. But what's wonderful is she doesn't just give you everything in one shot. You're kind of discovering things as the characters are as you move through. As you join them on this journey they're on, so like you're getting bits and pieces of these different those world and these different entities, and there's gods, there's demons, and there's magic, and there's myth, and and there's also terrible violence, but it serves the story. I mean, like it's very poignant too. I mean, there's a lot of pathos in this. It's also about a girl trying to discover who her mother really was in terms of what was their relationship really about.
Yeah.
And was her mother someone who was actually a benevolent person, or was she someone who was more sinister? So, I mean, this is about as high a recommendation as I can give. I'm giving for this series.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that you read it.
Well, Ian, next time I see you, you're going to get a very manly embrace from me, because you might have a guys continue. Got a couple little pile of stuff here.
Well, you know what? I know Murd's been waiting to talk about something for
please.
So I'm going to give the floor to him real quick. So
Go for
Murd,
it.
be my guest.
That won't take long, and then we can. Yeah, Chris, I'm sure you've got a lot of worthy, more recent books to relate to people. This one is actually something from the Time Bubble files. It's just something that I read this past fall that I thought was worth a mention. It's from 2004. That's about the point I'm up to in my reading. It's a one shot, and it actually bears the Elseworlds seal on the cover, because Elseworlds was still a concept back then. It's a Batman story. It's called Batman: The Order of Beasts.
I don't know if I ever read that.
I was going to ask you if you had, Shane.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, it's by Eddie Campbell.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So it's written and illustrated by Same, co-written with Darren White, letters by Michael Evans, and it's a golden age Batman story. It's set in England in 1939. Within the first year of Batman's career. So you could think of this as an Earth 2 Batman story if you wanted to, and it's. Well, I know, Chris, you've mentioned many times your love for the Sandman Mystery Theater.
Oh. Yes,
a classic Vertigo series treating the Golden Age Wesley Dodds vigilante Sandman. This is, if you've ever wondered if in the course of reading that story you'd ever wanted the same treatment for a Batman of the late 30s or early 40s, that's basically what this story delivers. It's kind of like a Batman Mystery Theater story. It's the color palette, the Campbell's artwork. It's kind of evocative of the aesthetic of the time, and it's set in England as young Bruce Wayne, fairly new to the cape and cowl game, is visiting a friend and business contact of his, Sir Rowney Fairfax in England, and also getting to know his daughter Edith, who happens to moonlight as a torch singer. So there's your love interest right there. And it so happens that Sir Fairfax is a member of a secret society called the Order of Beasts, who are a group of wealthy movers and shakers in high society and industry in England who are falling prey to cultural nostalgia as England is kind of perched on the precipice of World War in 1939. The shadow of fascism grows across Europe, and it's definitely part of the background radiation of the story. And these men, they meet in secret. They wear animal masks, and because they're sort of in love with this idea that they have of a pre-industrial, the pre-industrial rustic simplicity of an old England that probably never really existed. And so they meet around this long table and they discuss their machinations to shrug off the influence of Nazi Germany and bring England back to this simpler time. Their ritual invocation to begin each meeting is, "Each man must become a beast in order to truly know himself. So say we all." But then somebody begins to serially murder the members of this Order of Beasts one at a time, and Bruce Wayne must put on his Batman costume, which of course he brought along with him, to solve the mystery, which is following a pattern that only he recognizes was established in an old English nursery rhyme. So it's 30s Batman, guys in animal masks, and nursery rhyme crimes. It's kind of a classic golden age conceit. Except done in a somewhat more a refined manner by Campbell and Company. And Batman doesn't have purple gloves in this story, even though it's supposed to be a Batman Year One kind of thing. But he does have the Da Vinci-inspired stiff ribbed glider wings to go from rooftop to rooftop. Yeah, it's really... Campbell is obviously more concerned with the story he's telling and the setting than he is with the main character. So it's not so much about Batman as it is about the place and the time and Batman going around and solving the mystery. But it's if you're interested in that period in history, and if you also enjoyed Matt Wagner and Guy Davis and Steven Seagal's Sandman Mystery Theater, this is it's in the same vein, but it's starring the Dark Knight Detective.
Is it?
What's the title again, Mert?
The Order of Beasts. Batman,
Okay.
The Order of Beasts.
Is it color penciled or watercolored? Do you think?
It looks more watercolor to me.
Okay.
But let me pass it over to you, Shane. See what you think.
I'd completely missed that when it came out.
Yeah,
I didn't read it
I
either.
don't think I ever saw it.
Well, that's the sort of service that the Time Bubble usually provides, but I seem to be having difficulty scraping an episode of that together. So, I thought I'd just share.
Well,
that
Mert,
with
you're doing above and beyond duty on the Crisis tapes right now, so give yourself a break.
Oh, thank you kindly, Chris. I want to, get the Time Bubble out of the hangar and take a few spins around the continuum sometime soon. But Peter and I are taking a break from the Crisis tapes, putting it back on moratorium because he and I have similar demands on our free time. He's going into rehearsal mode for a production of Singing in the Rain he's working on, and I'm going to be on stage in a production of Neil Simon's Rumors coming up in a couple of months.
Which we're all looking forward to seeing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'd very much appreciate your attendance, guys.
You bet. Well, the fact that you compared this to one of my all-time favorite series, Sandman Mystery Theater, this is an Elseworld I definitely want to read.
Yeah, I do think you would enjoy it, Chris. It's very well grounded in its historical period.
Ah, fantastic.
How many
What about you,
issues-
Ian? What did you want to talk about?
So I caught up entirely on both Young Justice, and I finished Powers of X and House of X finally. Because I'd skimmed Powers of 10 and House of X, but I hadn't read the last 3 issues of either, and I went ahead and finally did so I could start reading the main X-Men series. And boy, oh boy, Jonathan Hickman has breathed so much life into the X books. It's been said before, and we've discussed it a little bit on the show. It just makes me happy that the X-Men are relevant again after all these years. Because I feel like they've sort of been languishing since the end of Bendis's run, even and possibly even a little bit before that. And now he's just crafted this new world for them that's interesting and unique. The world of Krakoa, even making resurrections and deaths make more sense. in the X realm, and like why characters suddenly show up after they've been dead for a while. Like, oh, now there's actually a damn reason for it. And Professor Xavier is at the same time fascinating and almost menacing in the way he's portrayed in this book. He's always been a little bit like, even when he's been a hero, he's always had a little bit of an air of above it all.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's even more so when you can't see his face. And that's the design of Xavier in this book, is that you're never quite sure what he's thinking and what he's doing. And by introducing Moira McTaggart back into the X books and having her be such a central character, because it was revealed within the course of this series, a bit of a mild spoiler, that she has been a mutant this entire time. And with a very unique power set of essentially living multiple lives.
Because I was going to say, I thought she was dead.
She got better, as did many in the course of comic books and what have you, and even that death is explained within the course of
terrific
miniseries. It's just a beautiful tapestry that's being weaved by Jonathan Hickman and his multiple artists, and it has me jazzed for the X books for the first time in forever.
And which titles do we talk about again here, so people know and I know?
This is House of X and Powers of 10, the miniseries that were from 2019. And then obviously he went on and started X-Men on his own, along with all the other side books that are running parallel to that. But that's what I finished most recently, and now I'm looking forward to getting into his main X-Men run. The other book that I caught up on was Young Justice, and we learned a bit more about Teen Lantern, which is such a cool concept of a character throughout the course of that, and also get to see Tim Drake in his new Drake garb fully in the most recent issue, and we get a little bit more mystery going and get more of the young guns or young animals together in one group, or whatever the hell the name of Bendis's tier of characters is, as Naomi is introduced into the Young Justice book as well, along with the Wonder Twins in this most recent issue. So yes, the Wonder Twins are indeed there, Murd. I know you asked that on a previews. So yes, they show up, and so does the H-Dial and those wielding it. So it's pretty much everybody in one house now.
It's an all Wonder Wowzer.
Yep. Wonder Comics. That's what it is. Damn it. I was trying to think of that. Wonder Comics, because Young Animals is that other line with Doom Patrol and what have you. So, yep, that's pretty much what I've been reading of late. So yeah, Chris, if you want to go ahead and let us know.
Well, what about Shane? Shane, anything you want to throw in there?
The only thing that I read was a couple issues of Justice League. Trying to get caught up on that. I will say I do think this storyline with Lex Luthor and the Legion of Doom, this portion of it is weighing on me. It's dragging on a little bit too long, but I'll see how it wraps up. I think hopefully in the next issue or two.
Actually, the final part, the epilogue, whatever you want to call it, just came out this past Wednesday.
Oh God! So
The end is in sight.
Thank God. I wanted to read. I think I read the first issue of Flash Forward, and I'm going to reread the first 2 or 3 issues of Young Justice because I haven't read anything since then, and I want to get back into that and catch up. And I pulled aside all the issues of Strangers in Paradise 25 to start to dive into that, so I can read 5 years then. Not the whole thing, the anniversary series that was just out of Strangers.
Okay. I was going to say that's
5 years. 5 years is gripping.
And then read 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gripping.
Okay.
Moore just does it all, man. Romance, intrigue, potentially the end of the world. It's all there. And that's only he can.
I'm trying to remember that I have the DC app, which has tons of comics on it as well, which I know it does, but I keep forgetting to download some and take them along and read them with me. So I'm trying to do that. Now that some of these things, the other titles that I don't purchase anymore, are now caught up to a point where I stopped buying them and can read what I've missed now in the last year or whatever of things that I decided to just drop off because of money. They're on there now, so I can start reading some of those as well. So,
I'm gonna do the same thing, but I must say I broke down in one sense in that I so am revering Immortal Hulk that I had to go out and order the last 2 trades just because it's such a innovative superhero comic, and I couldn't wait anymore for the monthly drop online. So I have 2 trades on my nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
If through like however far they go, volumes 3 and 4, I think it is, something like that. I don't remember, but actually I had them here. I'm sorry, it's volumes 4 and 5. Yeah. So looking forward to diving into those.
cool.
I wanted to mention a couple things from DC. So Christopher Priest ended his run on Deathstroke recently with issue 50. He wrote the entire volume through 50. Just consistently superb. And everybody knows I'm a big Priest fan. I revere his Black Panther run. I've mentioned that ad nauseum on the show. But Priest's take on the Deathstroke character, his telltale, dark humor, his clear understanding of geopolitical issues and just politics and how he incorporates all that in the DC universe and through a character like Deathstroke, just a complete blast to read this. He really does a lot with Deathstroke's family dynamic, the impact that his life has had on them, really explores the Wintergreen relationship in ways that I thought were fascinating and new. Yeah, this was a great series. And if you love the character, you're not going to be disappointed. I mean, it's very much Deathstroke through and through. But, it's Priest, so he just really plays around without disrespecting the history of the character, his supporting cast, his children, Joseph and so forth. And it's excellent. So I'm sure it'll be collected in one shot probably eventually.
Oh, sure.
And this is a book I'm looking for. Anything Priest does, it's always great to go back and read it in essentially one sitting once it's been collected. Because you always discover more layers when you go through his work, and the series is no exception. Highest recommendation. And the DC book I wanted to mention, I'm 2 issues behind, but from the end. So Tom King's Batman series is ended with issue 85. Now we've talked about how he's going to have a Batman Catwoman miniseries coming out at some point. I'm up through issue 83. Shane, did you finish the series?
I'm at issue 63.
Oh, okay.
I did really good up until 50, and then I started to try to catch up on other things, which Justice League and some other titles were part of that, but then I let Batman lax, and now I have to catch up on 20-plus issues of Batman.
Okay, so we can talk. We'll talk in more detail when you do that. Now, Ian, have you read this?
So far behind, I'm not even close. So yeah.
Okay. And I know this will be a time bubble thing, but
I'm on chapter 3 of War Games right now. That's
fantastic.
With my Batman
All right.
rating.
So I don't want to spoil, and I still have 2 issues to go, and we've raved about this series many times over the years since it premiered, but inevitably when this is collected in like one deluxe hardcover, because I get most of my trades from the library now, unless I really want to own something that I'm going to read over and over, I will buy this without even hesitation. I think what he's done here with Batman, this is one of the all-time great arcs for the character. And again, so reverent to the history of Batman. I mean, for God's sakes, he does a lot with Kite Man. We've talked about that before. But what he explores in this final arc between the relationship between Bruce and Alfred is so moving. And he so gets to it's just King's gift. He just so gets to just the heart of like a dynamic between characters. And I don't want to spoil anything, especially for those who are far behind, but I think this is going to go down as one of the all-time great Batman runs. I started reading it in trade, and I caught up to the monthlies. It's one of the first books I read whenever it comes out. I think this is an amazing achievement in superhero comics, and in terms of one of the most mythical and legendary superheroes in popular culture. I think Tom has more than done justice to the character and added just a riveting new chapter just to the saga of the Batman. I think this is when we look back at all the work Tom has done and is going to do, this will probably one of his crowning achievements. It's tremendous. Really loving that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, I finally got Volume 1 from Image of Bitter Root.
Ah.
David Walker, Chuck Brown, and the great Sanford Green.
Mm-hmm.
We've raved about David Walker and Sanford Green many times. Their wonderful Power Man and Iron Fist series, for example. And I read the first issue of this when it came out, and I loved it. I never got back to them, and so I waited for the trade. And this book is a delight. Basically, it takes place in the Harlem Renaissance era, the 1920s, and a African American family who, from one generation to the next, are dealing with. I don't know if you call them monster hunters, but they're in the back. They say they're a monster hunting family, so you can. But they try to cure the souls of people who are infected by hate and transformed into monsters. And it picks the story up again in the Harlem Renaissance era, and when the family is sort of kind of on the last legs in a way, like you get the sense some members have died off, and they're trying to maintain the legacy. I love Sanford McRead's art style. The way he draws demonic entities is just fantastic. I mean, it's both chilling and larger than life, and has almost this wonderful cartoon quality to it, but not in a way that takes away from the creatures themselves. And again, David Walker is just a man who does his homework, the history. I mean, they still capture the flavor, the feel of the era. The music, the clubs, the dress. It's immensely entertaining, and I mean that in the best possible way. I'm so hooked on this when I finish the trade. Can't wait for the next trade to come out. But this is another example of why Image is just the place to go for books that just explore some different facets of just genres in the comic book medium. So, big recommendation for that too. Bitter Root, Volume 1.
Nice.
So, I think that's what I wanted to talk about comic-wise. I mean, there's always other stuff I'm trying to catch up on, but those are the ones that come to mind that I've been looking forward to discussing the past few weeks.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
No, go ahead.
I was actually going to mention something that we both watched, so that's something that we can both discuss.
Yeah,
Shane.
go right ahead.
Since we're both caught up on the Harley Quinn animated series, I think that I was pleasantly surprised by it. I going into it, I thought it was going to be overkill because for those unaware, the Harley Quinn animated series that's on the DC Universe app is definitely rated R.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Like out of the gate, like they're flinging curses back and forth like nobody's business, and it's very raunchy and definitely geared towards an adult crowd. It actually airs on Adult Swim in Canada.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
I didn't either until I looked it up on Wikipedia a little while ago. So anybody who's in Canada who doesn't have the DC Universe app is able to watch it there.
Wow.
But I've been really enjoying where this is going. It's actually building the character of Harley in a direction that I've very rarely seen it built, which is like actually like strong on her own.
Yeah.
And independent, which is something that the comics have done with especially with the Palmiotti and Connor run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really digging it, and I love her crew too. Like it's a lot of fun.
I like Poison Ivy's role. I love Kite Man's role. I like the rest of her crew, which is what Dr. Psycho, King Shark, and Clayface.
Yep.
I like who's the landlord that they.
Oh, let me look up the name of the character, but I know that Jason Alexander plays him.
Yep. I enjoy it more than I thought I would because I'm not the biggest Harley Quinn fan anymore, just because it's everywhere. She's and that's fine. It's you love Harley Quinn, you love Harley Quinn. I don't have a problem with the character. I just didn't think I would like it, and I've been pleasantly surprised with the direction of this cartoon and the story. Like Ian said, the building of her character, the people she brings in, the heroes when they battle them, it's hilarious. I get a kick out of the fact that Dietrich Bader does Batman in this show, which is so R-rated, and he did in Brave and the Bold, which is extremely G-rated.
Right.
But yeah, I get a kick out of everybody that they brought into the show. Alan Tudyk does the voice of the Joker, and I think he's Clayface as well.
He's Clayface. He does Calendar Man on the show when Calendar Man shows up. He's a bunch of different voices.
Is this the Hannibal Lecter take on Calendar Man? Like the guy with the...
Nah, it's more played for laughs.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
He's in the background at Arkham at one point. So it's very much not the Hannibal Lecter-esque version.
In the whole DC app verse, I expected Doom Patrol to be a little bit raunchy just because of the way that book is. Just in my head. Titans, I expected to be a little bit less, and yet it is. They're flying curse words left and right. And I don't consider myself a prude by any stretch, but it seems very out of place on Titans in a lot of ways. On Harley Quinn, it makes a little bit more sense. And I guess I accept it more in that way just because of the way they're drawing it, storytelling, the characters, the comedy in it. It surprised me by how much I've enjoyed this show.
Oh yeah, and they've got some great voices in there too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
like one of my favorite additions to the cast is they have Christopher Maloney playing James Gordon, which is
such a strange portrayal of Gordon in this one.
Yeah, he's a very dejected, like on his last nerve.
Could snap at any moment.
Yeah, which is perfect for Christopher Maloney because I mean, he's from his Law and Order days and from Happy, like it's completely within his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But it's again more played for laughs than anything else. But there's an episode where Clayface's hand gets left behind on a heist.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Gordon's left to interrogate it, and he winds up bonding with the hand, and they become best friends. And like there's a whole fantasy sequence of them like going and playing basketball together and like drinking at the bar and stuff like that. And it's freaking hilarious.
yeah, it really is.
Before we should talk about Picard, gentlemen.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Has everyone, Murd, you haven't seen this or no?
It's streaming, so no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let's not spoil anything per se, but
I will mention before you say anything else, though. If you do get a chance to actually watch it, the first episode is up in its entirety on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you did want to at least check out the first episode without a login, you can do it there.
Okay, I'll give that a look if I can find the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, all I'll say is I had high expectations for this, and they have been met thus far.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just when he first appears, and he's Picard, and just I got this sense of like, oh, I'm this warmth. I'm home. Like the way he so embodies that character. Yet it's Picard. Much older now, but there's that grace, that authority, right? That benevolent sense of command.
Well, and the air of morality and truth to himself and how he thinks people should be, or at least Starfleet should be.
Yes, I well put, Shane. I thought it was. Plus, they got an enormous budget, obviously, for this. So it's not like Next Generation. I mean, like this is like this is like a film. I mean, they've got. I mean, they really show you his vineyard, for example.
Yeah.
And it's where they're going with, because it follows in the wake of essentially what happened in the first Star Trek film by
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams.
Yep,
So
the Kelvin.
They're exploring the consequences of what happens with Romulus and what, because you're always wondering, well, was Picard involved in that? And they go into all of that.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
It's fascinating. I'm sorry, Shane. Go ahead.
It doesn't set up like I'm saying this, I guess, for Murd's benefit, whether it matters or not. It doesn't change the history of anything we know from the original Trek to this show.
No, not at all.
The Romulus has exploded, and the Kelvinverse happens, but that's kind of in a separate multiverse world.
The Kelvinverse, is that the name they've assigned to this
movies,
divergent timeline of the Abrams stuff?
Yeah.
Why do they call it the Kelvinverse?
Well, because it's the USS Kelvin that is the first ship in the first movie that is also his grandfather's name or something like that. Because if you watch Force Awakens, Rey tells BB-8 to stay off of Kelvin Ridge. So it's something J.J. Abrams related that he throws in.
It's Abrams' grandfather's name. I thought you meant Kirk's grandfather.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's Abrams, but that's just what I've heard it referenced as. So to keep it kind of separate in my head, that's what I say it as. I could say the one starring Chris Pine, but that sounds weird.
Okay.
Wasn't that also the ship that Kirk's father was stationed upon?
Right. In the beginning of the new Star Trek movie.
Right.
So all of that happens in the movies, but it's an alternate timeline. You know, the timeline skews away, and that's where that all happens. So it doesn't change anything of what we've known in the show. So stuff that Picard did all through the Next Generation, all the movies matters.
It's all there.
This point. It's all there in history. And
without exploring that, and Shane, you were alluding to this. They're really getting into why there's a rift now between him and Starfleet.
Oh yeah.
And what happened as a consequence of those goings on with Romulus and so forth. And the other thing, again, because I really don't want to spoil this, but how they're now approaching the androids and their role is fascinating.
Yeah.
And they're really taking that in a really interesting and dark direction.
And the first couple times they said a particular name of not a main character, I didn't even take notice of it. I'm just like, okay, they just said this name for somebody that's doing something with these androids. Okay, up it up. And then, I don't know why, but days later, after watching the first episode a couple times, it hit me going, wait a minute, I know that name. Wait a minute, that's so-and-so. And I went back and watched a few episodes where this character was either on or mentioned. And I'm like, oh my God, they're really pulling stuff out from the history of Next Generation that even me, who, because I just wasn't paying attention, I was so enamored with looking at the world that they created in this first episode, I totally missed the name that they mentioned that you go find later to mean something, at least to me. And then I went back and found those few episodes and watched them from the Next Generation. But yeah, it's really great. It's really beautifully done.
They do.
Ian, what do you think?
Well, what I really appreciate about this, and I've watched all of Discovery at this point, because again, share alike on the logins and what have you. I was able to log in and watch the 2 seasons of that, and I also watched the short track, by the way. Which, if you haven't had a chance to watch the short track that led up to Picard, it is beautifully done. It is beautifully done. There's a cover of David Bowie's Heroes.
Oh, it's one of my favorite songs of all time.
As one of the as basically like the main song of the entire thing. It's actually Peter Gabriel's version of Heroes.
Oh, I love that version. Oh, I know the version. Okay.
Yeah. And it sets it up beautifully as to what's happening and ties into it in certain ways what happens in Picard. So definitely gotta watch. It's only about 10 minutes long. It's very easy to watch. But what I appreciate about this is that it takes the shooting style and sensibilities of like the more cinematic Trek,
yes,
and marries it beautifully with Next Generation
sensibility. Well put.
Yeah.
Yep.
It legitimately feels like Next Generation, and it's not just because Picard's there. Even the storyline that's being crafted is much more of a television story,
yes,
than a movie story.
Yeah.
While at the same time, you can tell like they know what their limitations are, which is we're going to tell a story over the next 10 episodes, and then we have to move on to another story or at least something built upon that. Like this is not, they know, even though it's already been renewed for season 2, that they're going to have to do something different with season 2 because that's the way this story building works. But they build upon the history of Star Trek so well in this.
Oh, yeah.
Like Shane mentioned, the character that they bring up in the first episode completely took me by surprise. The only reason I've heard his name recently is because I play the Star Trek Timelines mobile game.
Okay.
Which has like literally every single Star Trek character that's ever been in it. It's basically Pokemon with Star Trek. Okay. You're collecting every single Star Trek character and using them as your crew. So it's pretty cool that way. And there'll be multiple versions of the same character and stuff like that. So that's where I heard his name, and I'm like, oh wow, they pulled that one out of thin air, and then
yet it makes perfect sense.
It really does, yeah. When we watched the episode he was in, and it's beautiful, yeah. And the characters that they're introducing as well just feel natural within the world of Star Trek, I'm thrilled.
It also gives you the characters, like you're saying, Ian, that they introduce. It gives you a sense of what else Jean-Luc Picard has had to go through.
Yeah.
In not only just stuff on the Enterprise, but what came afterward in the last 25 years.
Yep.
And especially Alison Pill's character.
Yes.
Which they introduced here. It's going to be a hell of a year for Alison Pill. because not only is she on Picard, but she's also going to be on the new limited series debuting on Hulu soon called Devs, which I am so looking forward to. It's God, what's the name of the creator? It's Alex Garland's new show. And he's the one who did Ex Machina, which we mentioned earlier in this episode, as well as Annihilation and a bunch of other excellent movies, including Sunshine over the last couple of years. And now he's got a miniseries coming on Hulu pretty soon. But her 2020 is set. That's it. With Picard and Devs, she's golden. And yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm completely sucked in. As I said on Facebook at one point, Akiva Goldsman is completely made up for bat nipples as he is was one of the writers of that script, and now here he is co-showrunning Picard along with
Michael Chabon, for pity's sake.
Yes,
I mean,
Michael.
come on.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God. Yeah, no, that's some pedigree right there.
Yeah.
And it's I'm completely sold on this. I'm in all the way.
And I like how we know we're going to get some next generation people, not everybody, and they give good explanation why you're not going to see everybody, and I'm okay with not seeing everybody. I didn't want to see everybody. I think that would be too forced if they did that. So I'm very happy with how the show seems that it's going to progress as well as what we've already seen happen.
Oh yeah, and storyline wise, some of the next generation people that we're going to be seeing as well make perfect sense in the narrative.
Yep.
Again, not to spoil for anybody who hasn't seen the trailer, but yeah, we're going to get some other characters along the way that just make perfect sense.
Yep.
So,
all right.
Ian, concerning Discovery, I watched season 1
Mhm.
last year when I didn't get the CBS app until Picard came out, and I had a gift card for Apple at one point, at least a year ago. So once it was available on iTunes, I bought season 1. I watched that. I loved it.
Yeah.
It did feel, for the most part, like it could have taken place before anything we've seen, which is what it's supposed to do. Well, after Scott Bakula's Enterprise, but before old Star Trek. And I really enjoyed it. And it was a great ride, and I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's a fantastic ride.
Right.
Season 2, I loved. I absolutely was floored because I watched the whole darn thing in a week, which I didn't want to. I wanted to spread it out a little bit, but boom, there I am watching 2-3 episodes a day when I had time at night, and a little bit, 15 minutes at breakfast and 15 minutes at lunch, whatever I could do because I just couldn't stop. There were a couple things I didn't like in that throughout the whole series of season 2. I really felt like there was no possible way this could have taken place before anything we've seen because the stuff that they were doing was so advanced. It blew my mind.
Right.
And that's fine because they give kind of a good explanation for that at the end, I guess. But I really, really loved Pike's character all through that. And I really hope we see him again in some way. I thought that was spot on.
It was really well done in that aspect. Also, the short treks that he was involved with, I would also 100% recommend. There's also one involving Number One. Number One and Spock stuck on a turbo lift.
Oh wow!
And you get more information on her because Rebecca Romaine plays Number One.
See,
wow!
That's what I thought, and I didn't look that up. I don't know why I didn't look that up yet, but I thought that's who that was. And boy, spot on for how. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Marjol Roddenberry played her in
Mace Barrett.
Thank you. Good heavens, how she played it in the couple spots that she did for the original Cage.
Yep.
See, Shane, now you make me want to watch Discovery, even though I've not only seen like the first episode.
It's so much fun.
The only thing that bothers me, and it's pretty much the main problem I had with season 2. It was there in season 1, but it's there even more in season 2. I hate how it's Michael Burnham's show, as in like she is the most important person in the world.
Well, yeah,
and I get it, because that's your main character here. and it's cool and all, but they do some weird jury rigging with her backstory and her history to make her more relevant in Trek, and I would have been fine without that. It's one of the reasons why part of me just wishes they just based the whole damn thing in the future to begin with, so they'd have more of a sandbox to work with.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that, because at least in the first couple episodes of season 2, I felt like we got to explore all the other characters in the show more than we did in the first season, which, again, that's fine, because the first season really was focused on her because of how the first episode happened.
Right.
But towards the end, I will agree, it became way too much about her and kind of tweaking her history to make it fit the season 2.
Right. Yeah. But that's bound to happen with these shows. But I enjoyed it. It's just that's what hung over me the most, and it's why I'm looking forward to season 3 so much. Is that we're definitely gonna be getting something different.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Got anything else, gentlemen?
I went on a little bit of a tirade to search out, because I hardly buy toys anymore, but I did go searching Targets and Walmarts, because I kept seeing on social media and online the McFarlane DC toys were being released, and I wanted to just see them. I did not necessarily go for the pictures the way they looked, and I found them at a Walmart. I passed completely on the Batman and Superman, what is it, Action Comics 1000, and the Batman, I forget which issue it's based off of. They just don't look quite right to me. Other people love them, and that's fine. I like the previous Mattel versions of Batman and Superman in a lot of ways for some of the versions we got of that. I did pick up the Batman, the Green Lantern, and the Superman all animated versions that McFarlane put out. I opened up Batman, and he's so damn top heavy that at first it was very hard to get him to stand. Because even though those characters are drawn very exaggerated in the shows and in some of their toys, these seem even more so. Like, they're really top heavy. Then I watched a review of Green Lantern where the way they have his shoulders and head sculpted, it looks like he's always looking down, and no matter how you posture him, you can't get him to really look up. It really does look odd. If you keep him in the package, it's gorgeous. But if you open him up like I do for a lot of my stuff, it really doesn't look quite right. And the Superman, the head sculpt, some of the body, the way they have the torso connected with the hips a little bit, with it's just this weird sculpting. Instead of a hinge, they have something inside that just doesn't look right to me. So I ended up returning Green Lantern and the Superman animated figures. I kept the Batman, of course, because I opened it. I did find a Harley Quinn, which is in her classic kind of costume, which is my favorite. I picked that up, and while it seems a little out of proportion with the other figures, it by itself is a gorgeous figure, and I actually have her sitting on what's my TV stand. She's got her right arm using the mallet as a pedestal prop, sort of. She has the pop gun in her left hand pointing up. She has her right leg bent up backwards, and her left leg is holding her up. So between her left leg and the hammer, she's standing up in I'm doing this like anybody can see me, like a pose, like wee kind of pose that I would expect from Harley Quinn in the animated series. So it really is a gorgeous figure. So I like that one a lot. And then the Batman one is cool. I found somebody online who was doing a review, and the way they had him stood and posed, I thought, oh wow, that's great. So I used that, and it works very well. But overall I'm not really impressed with the line, and that's fine. I'm getting maybe just a little bit too old for some of these toys. Not that I would ever stop loving toys, but it just didn't grab me like it's grabbing other people. I liked the Mattel versions of all these characters from the last round of big toy release we had.
Shane, you're not too old, just a more discriminating consumer.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, if I'm shelling out $20, I really want to like it. So yeah, I again got the Batman, got the Harley Quinn. They're great, but I really don't see myself picking up many of these going forward. That's just my taste. If you love them, hey, that's great. And there's plenty of people that are reviewing them and showing them online, and they love them, and with good reason for them. I just like other versions of these a little bit better. But it was fun to go out and search for them, because it's been a long time since I went out multiple times in a week, searching for something, hoping to find it, turn it in a corner. I'm like, oh my God, they're there, and just getting a little excited to look at them.
Hey, if they're gonna actually make a Lethal Weapon 5, then you're definitely not too old for this shit.
yeah.
Are they making Lethal Weapon 5?
I just found that out yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just got announced like a day or two ago. Bad Boys did well enough that I guess they're like, hey, buddy.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I love the Lethal Weapon films.
Oh yeah,
so.
I do too.
Yeah.
So that was
right.
my fun little romp in Toy World again.
And thank you for taking us on that little
Yes, absolutely.
side trip to the world of toys.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got 2 more quick things I want to throw out there, and then I think we can wrap things up. We'll get in more depth on this when more of you have seen it. But since we last spoke, Watchmen concluded, and I just have to say that that was my best series of 2019. Period. Wow. HBO. I want to thank them so much for letting Damon Lindelof do his thing. And I also want to thank them so much for allowing him to just do that, rather than, contractually obligate him to do a second season or what have you. It looks like this will be all we get, and I am more than okay with that because the way we end is similar to the way we end the Watchmen comic book, which is it gives you just enough to feel great and just enough to make you keep on wondering what's going to go next. And whether you ever get more, so be it. It's just that damn good.
Well, I watched the first episode. I thought it was tremendous. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest. And with your recommendation, Ian, I'm all the more excited.
It's fantastic. I loved it to bits. The other thing I got to see was in theaters the follow-up to the anime film Your Name, called Weathering with You. It's by Makoto Shinkai. Your Name was sort of like a time travel movie involving two lovers across time. Weathering with You is about a boy who finds a girl who can control the weather through prayer, and basically Tokyo is going through like its longest period of rain in its history, and through her abilities, she's able to stop the rain for a little while through prayer, and they're making money off of it basically. But it comes with a cost, and each time she uses her abilities, she gets closer and closer to fading away. And it's a very well done movie. Not as well done as Your Name, which I adore. But I would recommend going to see it in theaters if it's still available. If not, then it'll be on demand eventually. Whether it be dub or sub. But really, really enjoyed getting to see that in theaters and experience it. So, Weathering with You.
Levenstein speaketh. That's it.
There we go.
Cool.
And that is my bolt shot.
We've shot our bolt, gentlemen.
Yep.
Merge your shot.
I had one other topic to introduce, but it's kind of a large one. Maybe better saved for a later time.
I mean, how large is large?
Well, large enough we could probably do a whole episode on it. Well, eventually, maybe not right now, but I'm looking forward to the DC 5G.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I think.
Well, for a future time then.
Yep. Yeah, we can definitely wait until there's more 5G to discuss,
right.
and get into that. Yeah.
Only a few tantalizing tidbits have been tossed our way lately, but it's something big that DC is going to be trying. Still not sure if it's going to be like a full-scale reboot or just an alternate timeline kind of thing. But
Listen to Shane's voice.
Yeah.
The resignation.
Yeah,
Ultimate Extreme DC Comics, all new.
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay.
all right, Shane. Stop grumbling and start
Get off my lawn.
concluding.
Take us out, brother.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send an email, go to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Good heavens, I lost my place. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com and let us know what you think of all these topics, because there was a whole lot of them. And let us know. Yeah, I said that. Good heavens. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. We'd like to thank everyone who contributes to the show. We appreciate it. Thank you for Muddle the Merds. Keep them coming, because that was a hoot and a half. And
Get those best of ballots in, too.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Best
And
of
thank you,
ballots.
Big John, for the wonderful gifts.
Thank you,
Hear,
Big
hear.
John. Absolutely fantastic. Wow. I gotta find a place in of prominence for the Shakespeare head. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From cakes to laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read. And comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is Comic Geek Speak.
Dancing in my chair.